Hare Krishna. Welcome to all the devotees for our Tuesday Satsang program. In the last 2 weeks, because of Vyas Puja and also because of Gita Jayanti, we had various other engagements. We could not have our class. So, if you remember, before that, in the 2 weeks before, we discussed elaborately on the definition of Uttama Bhakti. That having heard the questions asked by Mother Devahuti, that please tell me by following which I can be delivered from this samsara, for which Lord Kapila had mentioned that you need to follow Adhyatmika Yoga, which consists of Bhakti, Jnana and Yoga. Adhyatmika Yoga is basically about three things. Either by practicing Bhakti or Jnana or Yoga, one can overcome the influence of samsara. One can go out of samsara, the material bondage. And then he also goes into little details what one need to do in order to practice jnana, yoga and bhakti, some rules and regulations. Then he talks about bhakti. When he talks about bhakti, he talks about bhakti can be practiced only in the association of devotees. Then who are the devotees? The different qualities and qualifications of different devotees is being mentioned, etc. etc. When one comes in the association of devotees, starting with Ado Shraddha, by taking shelter of Guru's warning, one can come to the state of Bhava and Prema very quickly. Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishyate. In due course of time, one comes to the platform of Bhava and Prema. That is being mentioned. And similarly, by taking shelter of Jnana or Ashtanga Yoga, along with Bhakti also, one can get freed from this material existence. That's where Lord Kapila stopped. And he said, in between, among these three, Bhakti is the most auspicious path which awards the most auspicious result. So he said that Bhakti is the most auspicious path which can award the topmost result. So then Mother Devahuti says that, my dear Lord, you are telling me to practice Bhakti. Can you kindly tell me what kind of Bhakti I am supposed to practice? And please briefly talk about the path of Jnana and path of Yoga also, so that I will not have any disappointment that I don't know about Jnana Yoga. Let me also understand about what Yoga is, what Jnana is. At the same time, please speak about that Bhakti which I am supposed to practice, and what kind of Bhakti I am supposed to practice, and practicing which I can attain your lotus feet very quickly. So Lord Kapila in this chapter answers to this question, that what kind of bhakti Mother Devahuti is supposed to practice, and practicing which what kind of results she would receive. And in the upcoming two chapters, that is 26 and 27, it talks about Jnana, and 28 it talks about Ashtanga Yoga. That's how his future answers in relation to her queries. So we discussed about that bhakti, which has similarities with Uttama Bhakti that Rupa Goswami has defined in Bhakti Rasamrindhu. We have seen that. So he says that Uttama Bhakti need to be practiced, which he said that Devanam, Munalingana, Manushravika Karmanam, Sattva Eveka Manaso Vritti Swabhaviki Tuya, Animitta Bhagavati Bhakti Siddher Gariyasi. He basically said that in general, for our maintenance or for our sustenance, we engage our Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas in various activities, and we experience or we enjoy the results of those activities for our nourishment, for our enjoyment, etc., etc., etc. And Lord says that perform those activities in the service of the Supreme Lord for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. That is called Bhakti. And that Bhakti takes one to the platform of Bhava and Prema. And executing Bhakti in the level of Bhava and Prema gives happiness more than that of the Brahmananda. The Jnanis and Yogis having attained Sayujya Mukti, whatever happiness they experience, that is nowhere in comparison to the happiness of a devotee who is still here but practicing Bhava Bhakti or Prema Bhakti. The happiness of Bhava Bhakti or Prema Bhakti is much higher than Brahmananda. And Jarayati Ashuya Kosham Nigirnam Analoyata. And this Bhakti, generally Jnana and Yoga, destroy both the gross body and subtle body. and avoid Sahajya Mukti. But on the other hand, Bhakti only destroys the material aspects of the gross body and subtle body, but transforms or reveals the spiritual aspects of the body. So devotee, by the time reaches to the platform of Bhava Prema, will have the transformation of the complete body, the gross body and subtle body. He will be revealed of his transcendental form, spiritual form. So that is compared with digesting food in the stomach. The jnana and yoga are like normal fire, which burns away everything. But bhakti is like the digestive fire. It burns food in such a way that whichever is the material aspect, it burns it completely and that portion is extricated. But the good from the good portion, the entire body gets nourished. That's how bhakti functions. So that is what we have discussed in the two classes. We kind of went through elaborately in order to understand the meaning of these two verses. And today we'll try to see the remaining verses where the results are being discussed. But before going further, we have also discussed last time the definition of bhakti from Bhagavad Gita. So in the Bhagavad Gita, so this was the verse which actually, not this Bhagavad Gita. So this is the verse which defines bhakti. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. This verse is the definition of Bhakti Yoga. And then there is one more verse in the same Bhagavad Gita which describes the principal activities of Bhakti. 1865, which also came once in the 9th chapter, 934 also. The same verse, but came twice. This verse actually talks about what are the typical activities that we are supposed to do in Bhakti. The principal activities of Bhakti practitioner. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evesha satyam te pratijane priyosmi. The translation is very simple. My dear Arjuna, become my devotee, worship me and offer your mind to me, worship me and offer dandavats unto me, and I will promise you that you will come to me. This is very simple, straightforward translation. But the import of this translation is that being my devotee, bhava madbhakto, offer your mind unto me, manmana, offer articles to me in worship, madhyaji, offer respects to me, mam namaskuru. I promise that you will come to me without doubt, for you are most dear to me, priyosmi. So Lord Krishna is actually promising Arjuna that if you do these four things, I'll promise that you will come to me without fail. You will come to me means you will come to my spiritual abode. By concentrating your mind on me, by being my devotee, worshipping me and offering respects to me. There are four things Lord Krishna is telling. By concentrating your mind on me, manmana, by being my devotee, madbhakto, worshipping me, madhyaji, offering respects to me, mam namaskuru, you will attain only me. Mam eva. Lord Krishna clearly says that in this commentary, Acharya says that while speaking this verse, Lord Krishna is keeping his hand and is just saying that Mam eva. By doing all these four things unto me, you will attain me only, not somebody else. It said that you will attain only me, Lord Krishna, with human form, the son of Devaki. Who is most affectionate to you is your close friend with dark complexion, Krishna Varnam, the color of blue lotus, not the universal form, which is mentioned in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita with 1000 heads, nor the form of Paramatma, which is also mentioned in the 18th chapter, 13th chapter, etc., etc., who is the size of a thumb, nor Lord Narsimha or Lord Varaha. By practicing these four things unto me, you will attain me, Shyamsundar Krishna, Parsarthi Krishna, Devaki Nandan Krishna, Yashodanandan Krishna only, not somebody else. Not universal form, not Paramatma, not Brahman, not Narsimha, Varaha, Rama, Kurma, etc., etc. So that is how he says. So now let us try to understand what exactly Lord Krishna is hinting at. Bhava madbhakto, being my devotee, think of me. The Lord says this to exclude other possibilities. It does not mean that be a jnani or be a yogi and meditate upon me. Not that. but be a bhakta and then do these 4 things unto me. First of all, one need to become a devotee, not as a jnani, not as a yogi. Instead, become a devotee and practice these 4 things. Then only for a devotee, only Lord is promising like this. So the meaning of man mana, it means give your mind as a gift to me. Unto whom? Lord Shamasundara, with moon-like face, Krishna Chandra, with shining locks of hair and beautiful eyebrows, raining nectar in the form of glances of sweet mercy. This is the description of the beautiful face of Lord Krishna, on whom one should meditate upon. Says that give your mind as a gift to me. That means the mind should be given as a gift to Lord Krishna. That means the mind is Krishna's. So the whatever vichar that mind do should be all about Krishna only. The mind cannot think about anything else other than Krishna after giving it as a gift to Krishna. That is what Krishna says. Manmana means. This also indicates that give your mind, give your intelligence, give your ego, and give your consciousness. Man, buddhi, ahankara, chetana as a gift to me. Just by saying manmana, Lord Krishna indirectly indicating that offer your mind, intelligence, ahankara, and chitta, all of those 4 subtle elements unto me as a gift. That means use all these 4 things only in my service, not for your personal enjoyment, not for your personal sake. After giving them as a gift to Lord, they all becomes Lord's. They are no more ours. That is what is indicated here. It means always think of me with your mind. Always contemplate upon my pastimes and the qualities with your buddhi. Like though Putana came to kill Krishna by feeding him her poisonous milk, but still Krishna gave her position of mother. Though Agasura came to devour Krishna, but Krishna gave him Sarupya Mukti. So like that. So though envious people came to Krishna with different intent, but Krishna gave them the great. If the demons can get that kind of position, what to speak of devotees? What kind of great position they can get? Like that, one should contemplate upon the Krishna's glorious qualities with our intelligence. One should analyze those things and identify yourself as my devotee through one's ahankara. Because of ahankara, we get so many upadhis in this world. We say that from our childhood, I am the son of so and so, grandson of so and so. I was born in so and so village. I belong to so and so community. My name has got the prefix and suffix, etc., etc. We have so many identities. Then after education, we say that I am engineer, I am doctor, I am this, I am that. After joining into a company, we say that I am a senior manager and a technical consultant, this, that, CEO, etc., etc. After marrying, you say that I am husband, I am wife. After begetting children, we say that I am father of so and so children, etc., etc. After eventually that grandfather, like that, so many identities keep changing. But Krishna says that identify yourself as my devotee. So we should have only one identity, that I am Krishna's devotee. So in Kovur, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after accepting sannyas, he was traveling on his South Indian Yatra. When he came to Kovur, he was having a conversation with Ramananda Rai. So in that Ramananda Rai's conversation, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes many inquiries. One such inquiry is, what is the fame? What is the real fame in this world? We all want to have some name and fame, some prestige, some recognition in this world. So for which Srila Ramananda Rai says that the real fame is to be known as the devotee of the Supreme Lord, to be recognized as Krishna Bhakta. That is the real fame. So that is the function of Ahankara. And finally, always be Krishna conscious with one's Chetana. The Chetana should always contemplate upon Lord Krishna. Being Krishna consciousness always 24/7. So this is what Lord Krishna is expecting from us by saying man mana. And this is what we are supposed to do with our mind, intelligence, ego, and consciousness. Man, buddhi, ahankara, and chetana. And then the next word, mad bhakta. Mad bhakta means give all your senses, the 5 jnanendriyas and 5 karmendriyas, such as the ears, unto me. How? Perform worship of me using all the 10 senses, with such services as hearing through ears, chanting through mouth or tongue, seeing my murti through eyes, cleaning and anointing my temple through our hands and legs, picking flowers with legs, and making garlands and offering garlands with our hands, and offering ornaments with our hands, umbrella with our hands, chamara with our hands, like that, basically hands and legs. So with the help of our jnanendriyas and karmendriyas, the Lord is telling that perform all these activities. Hear, chant, take darshan of my murti, clean the temple, decorate the temple, pick flowers, make garlands, offer ornaments, offer garments, offer umbrellas, offer chamaras whenever I go on procession. Do all these things with your senses. So that is the meaning of Mad Bhakta. This indicates that engage your jnanendriyas, knowledge acquiring senses, and karmendriyas, the working senses, in my service, such as hearing, anointing, seeing, tasting, smelling, describing my glories, working for me, etc., etc., etc. So whatever activities in generally we do with these 10 senses for our maintenance, for our sustenance, and for our enjoyment should be done for Lord's service, Lord's pleasure. That is the meaning of Mad Bhakta. And then Madhyaji, perform my worship by giving me objects such as gandha, which is indicating touch, flowers, incense, indicating smell, lamp, indicating sight, and naivedya, indicating taste, while ringing the bell, indicating sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the 5 sense objects. Offer the 5 sense objects unto me in my devotional service. This indicates that engage everything that is in your possession, which acts as the objects of enjoyment for you in my service. Except our body, that means except our personality, everything else that is there in the entire world upon which we have access, upon which we have control, we have possession, everything acts as an object of enjoyment for us. For example, the house in which we are living, that is an object of enjoyment for us. We live comfortably, we take rest, we play, we dine, etc., etc., etc. And also the vehicle we have, the food we eat in our home, that is also an object of enjoyment for us. The music that we hear in our home, the sound, that also, and the fragrances that we use or smell in our house or in anywhere around, everything in this world, we see it as an object of enjoyment for us. That's why people go to different places for sightseeing, for excursion, for picnic, etc. They want to enjoy. And the home, they decorate in such a way that it will be pleasing to them, pleasing to their eyes and their heart, etc. So many things they're like that, they say. So basically, except our personality, except our body, everything else in this world, even our family members, we stay with our family members because they speak nice to us, they speak nicely to us. So in their company, we feel comfortable and sheltered and protected, etc. So that is all, they are all providing us comfort and enjoyment. So we want them with us. So everything that is there around us in our possession is an object of our enjoyment. But by saying Madhyaji says that offer everything in your possession in my service. That is the meaning of Madhyaji. So we use objects such as gandha for touch. Of course, gandha is in terms of, we have this festival, Chandan Yatra. For 21 days, the Chandan is applied to the Lord, etc., etc. So something like that. Even at our homes also, our ladies put gandha on their throat, etc. And flowers and incenses we put in our home, and flowers are also used decorating the house and decorating our Mataji's wear flowers, etc. for their happiness. And lamp, we have electricity, wonderful, beautiful lights, glittering lamps in our home. And Naivedya, we have food, We have daily morning, afternoon, evening, different variety of cuisines. We have like a different variety of taste, going to different restaurants, enjoy everything. This is how people in this world trying to enjoy everything they have, everything around them for their enjoyment. But Lord says that offer everything in my service for my pleasure. That is Madhyaj. Everything that we have in our possession should be offered in the service of the Supreme Lord. And then finally, Mam Namaskuru. Oh Arjuna, just give me respects by falling on the ground with the whole body, touching the ground with 7 or 8 limbs. Sashtanga Namaskar, the whole body. The male, the men, the Prabhujis offer Sashtanga Maha Namaskar, and the Matajis are expected to offer only half Namaskar, not full Namaskar. That is not allowed for Matajis. This indicates that engage your body made up of the 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, in my service by offering obeisances and other activities. When we offer obeisance, our whole body is involved. Washing temple, cleaning temple, decorating temple, also whole body is involved. So all such activities which we do with our whole body are done for Lord's service. Then Lord says that Mam Eva Eshasi. Of these 4, thinking of me with the mind, the subtle body made up of the 4 subtle elements, serving me with the 10 senses, worshipping me with the sense objects, with the items, the 5 sense objects, and offering respects to me with the whole body made up of the 5 Pancha Mahabhutas, do all of them or any one of them, you will attain me. If one can do only one of the 4 for the entire life, or all the 4 for the entire life, Lord promises that you will attain me without fail. Make an offering of your mind. That means make an offering of all the 4 Antakaranas, Man, Buddhi, Hankara, Chetana, your senses, Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas, and items of worship, the 5 Tanmatras, or your entire body made up of Pancha Mahabhutas, unto me. And I make an oath unto you that I will give myself to you. So indirectly, Lord is indicating that as long as we are in this world, our body is made up of Antakaranas, Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, and Pancha Mahabhutas. This is all our body. And rest of the world with which we are interacting with, that is Tanmatra for us, for our sustenance, maintenance, and enjoyment, etc. etc. So basically, our possessions and our personality itself are all our possessions. And everything that is there in our possession, when we offer that unto Lord Krishna says, he will offer everything in his possession unto us. That is, he will offer himself unto us. I will give myself unto you. If you offer everything in your possession unto me, then I will offer myself unto you. Ye yatamam prapadyante tam tataiva bhajamiham. So Lord Krishna is giving a fair and very simple deal at the end of Bhagavad Gita. If a devotee with the sincerity of heart and purpose can follow this, Lord Krishna is making a vow that if you offer everything that is there with you, unto me, I will offer everything that is there with me unto you. That means I'll offer myself. If you offer yourself to me, I'll offer myself to you. Is there anything better than this deal? So these are the principal activities of bhakti. That is what we can learn from Bhagavad Gita. The same thing is being indicated here. Devanam Gunalinganam Manushram Karvanam means generally we use our body and senses for our nourishment, our maintenance, and our enjoyment. But when the same things are done for the service of Supreme Lord, one will be promoted to the platform of Bhava and Prema, which is much superior to Brahmananda. Then eventually one will become an associate of the Supreme Lord and can serve the Lord in person. So this is all bhakti means. So with that background, if one practices such kind of bhakti, then what kind of results one is expected to get? Lord Kapila is answering the first question of Mother Devavati from 31 to 44. Now, in the next 4 verses, we are going to discuss about coming to the platform of Bhava, following Vedi Sadhana Bhakti. And after Bhava, where one will go? So by practicing Vedi Sadhana Bhakti, that what we are practicing now currently, one eventually will come to the platform of Bhava. So after coming to Bhava, what one will do? And from there, where one will go? That is being described from 34 to 37. The 4 verses talks about that. नैकात्मतं मे स्पृहयन्ति केचिन् मत्पादसेवाभिरता येन्योन्यतो भागवता प्रसज्य सभाजयन्ते मम पौरुषाणि. So here in this verse, so Lord Krishna is saying that those devotees who are engaged in service unto my lotus feet, following the scriptural rules, because this bhakti is performed following the scriptural rules of the Vedic literature being spoken by spiritual master, that's why it is called as Vedi Sadhana Bhakti. When we practice Vedi Sadhana Bhakti following the rules and regulations of the Vedic literatures being instructed by a spiritual master, so what will happen? Who desire only the taste of my beauty. With what desire one is practicing this Vedi Sadhana Bhakti? In order to taste the beauty of the Lord's transcendental form. Who, gathering together, relish my pastimes among themselves. Who continuously meet with other devotees and constantly hear pastimes Supreme Lord and experience relish while discussing with other devotees. Anyonyato sabhajayante mama paurushani. Paurushani refers to the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Lord. By discussing and by hearing the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, they will experience happiness. And they never desire to become one with Brahman. Na eka atmatam me pruhayanti kechit. And these Vedi Sadhaka Bhaktas, as they continuously progressing towards Bhava platform, they do 3 things. One is, they are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet, following the rules and regulations of Vedic literature, and they continue to hear and discuss Krishna's pastimes and experience relish, and they do not desire to become one with Brahman. They don't have such kind of desire to become one with Brahman. So why they don't want to become one with Brahman, we'll discuss a little later. But now I have one small query, just one simple understanding. For example, not in the class, but in generally, when a couple of devotees meet with each other, what kind of discussion will take place between them? When some of you, 2 family members meet together, 2 persons of 2 different family members meet. So what kind of discussion will happen among the devotee circle? If the 2 people are met after a gap of 15 days or 1 month, so in generally, what kind of discussion will take place?
Spiritual discussions regarding Krishna and Katha and all the stuff.
Prabhuji, be practical. You are in the class, that's why you are saying that. But in generally, when if you happen to meet after a month, one devotee, what you talk, what you discuss with them? Or to be more precise, 2 couples, the wife and husband meet after this long gap, what they discuss?
Family, health, relationship,
our
profession,
our
gossip here and there.
Prajalpa.
No, don't say Prajalpa and all. See, try to be empathetic. Don't speak like that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I feel that when one meets after very long and if they've not communicated at all with each other, then I think they will ask that, did you miss me?
Not too specific also, but in general.
But yeah, about that, and how have you been, and what all has happened?
Yes, what's happening all these days? What's happening in your family? What's happening in your job? What's happening in children's education? What they are doing? How they are studying? When the exams are coming up? What is the plan for future, etc.? Such kind of things. Yes or not?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So Devotees, they discuss all these things and then they ask, are you going for any yatra, any plans for future yatra, and what about the program, how the program is going on? They also talk about that. So I'm not saying that they don't talk, but in general, if outside people, those who have no connection with the devotional service, etc., when they meet, what they discuss? Same thing. They discuss
thing.
about what's happening in their family, in their career, in their children's education, etc., etc. And little more than that, they may discuss about what's happening in the sports or movies and etc. Some other business or real stock exchange. Some few additional things they might discuss. Just like we discuss about Krishna Katha, they discuss some additional things here and there. Why everyone is discussing about all these things only? Especially about family matters, career and education of the children and their life settlement, etc., etc. I'm asking normal question. I'm not questioning that why they are discussing like that, but what makes them discuss about all these things?
Prabhuji, that is the way we are brought up and conditioned, and that is where the life is.
See, Prabhuji, don't go in the negative way. See, that is all about our life. So that is all matters to us. We are living in the society, and these are society norms, and we need to discuss about them. We need to discuss about our life, what is happening in our life. It is not about a conditioning or material. Or don't go in the negative way. In neutral connotation, you say.
Hare Krishna.
That is what is life all about. Sorry.
Yes. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, the thing is, things that impact our life in the immediate future, those are the things which people normally indulge in speaking about. Maybe it could be satisfying to their personal interest or to the egos, or they want to know something. It could be just mundane gossip, or it could be things, developments that happen in the society or in the nationhood or whatever that they like to discuss and understand. So
see, Prabhuji, no need to analyze so much. Basically, it is our life. So when we meet two people who are living, they talk about their life. It is simple thing, straightforward, simple thing. It is a normal thing. If you don't talk about it, we are abnormal.
Yes,
very true.
Prabhuji, I feel maybe out of concern, just one might want to know what is happening in each other's life.
It is not out of concern. It is required. It is need of the person. We want to share what is happening in our life with others, especially with our friends and trustworthy people. And we want to hear about them also, what is happening in their life. That is the relationship between two people, two families. That is natural. We cannot artificially deny that. It is natural because I'm not denying this fact, because since from the beginning we are a social being. From the time of birth, we are one among the many. And we want to know about the life of the many people, and many people want to know about the life of us. Is it not?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So now I just want to extend the same understanding. So in our circle, within our Mumbai or whichever place we are coming from, in general, whenever we meet our friends or relatives, we generally talk about what they are doing, what's happening in their family, what's happening in their family members, etc., etc. We discuss about everyone. When some relative comes to our home, we discuss about each and every person that in that family, and we also discuss about the mutual relatives, the relatives to them and us who are third person. We discuss about them also. This is general way that we live in this world. And now I'll take you to Vrindavan. When Lord Krishna was there in Vrindavan also there are many families. And in every family they have husband, wife, father, mother, son, daughter, etc. So many people are there. And everyone would talk about their family members occasionally also here and there. But one prominent thing is that after the birth of Lord Krishna, their talking about their family members has become zero. And everyone, whether it is small or old, the small of the small or the old of the old, everyone would discuss about Krishna only. When Krishna would go along with his cowherd boyfriends to tend the calves or cows, every day in the morning, Kamsa would send one demon before the lunchtime would come, because they would engage in playing. The cows or calves are busy in grazing and these boys were playing. So Kamsa Mama would send a demon to remind Krishna that is lunchtime. So basically indirectly, So when the demon would come to kill Krishna or Balram, Krishna and Balram would have a nice sport with them and kill them. By the time they look around, then the sun is above their head. They think that, okay, it is time for lunch. After killing the demon, they feel that we are tired too much. Let us have lunch break. They will take lunch, then they rest for some time. Again, they start playing. And late in the evening, again comes out another demon. And Krishna, Balram, after killing that demon, they realize that sun is setting. So let's go home. This is their daily schedule in the forest. But when they are coming home, all the Gopa friends of Krishna Balram, they would compose nice songs based on what they have done throughout the day, about their play, that the demon coming, the descriptions of the bodily descriptions of the demon, and how Krishna fought with him, how Krishna and Balram killed them. Entire thing is very nicely composed by these cowherd boys, and they would sing while they are entering into Vrindavan. And all the cowherd elderly ladies, elderly gents, and young ladies, young girls, they would all climb on their terraces or balconies. They would see Krishna and Balram as they are entering into Vrindavan. And everyone would hear the Gopa boys singing, what did Krishna do throughout the day? And next day morning, again, when Krishna Balram were going to the forest, they all would climb their terraces, balconies, they would see Krishna. Till the time it would be visible, that far distance. And then when Krishna is disappeared into the forest, then throughout the day, while engaging in their daily household activities, all the ladies, gents, girls, everyone, because boys are with Krishna, so there are no more boys in the village. Everyone would sing those songs which were sung by the boys yesterday evening. Throughout the day, they would sing that yesterday Krishna did this, acted like this, that like this demon killed like that. Whole day they would discuss, sing. Whenever two people meet, आपने सुना क्या कल कृष्णा ये किया था, कल कृष्णा ऐसा डीमन आया था उसको मारा था, ऐसा करके बच्चों लोग बोल रहे थे ऐसा. They would discuss about what did Krishna do yesterday. So like that, every day they would get new songs and they sing and do all these things. This is what is happening 24/7 after Krishna came into Vrindavan in the lives of Vrajavasis. So that is called Krishna consciousness. When we also come to that point in 24/7, instead of discussing anything about our family members, anything about this world, the things are happening in this world about sports stars, movie stars, business leaders, and real estates and stocks, etc., etc. Instead of that, 24/7, when we discuss about Krishna's pastimes, oh, Krishna did this, Krishna did that, Krishna he gave this, he interacted with this devotee like this. When we also able to discuss Krishna's past 24/7, we become qualified to enter into Vrindavan. Because the activity of Vrajavasi is to discuss about Krishna's pastime 24/7. Whenever a devotee of this world can do that, he is eligible to enter into Vrindavan. So this is what your Lord is indicating through these verses. Practicing Vedic sadhana bhakti is to cultivate this consciousness that currently we are discussing about Krishna, or we are hearing about Krishna maybe in the morning for a few hours, Mangalarti, Japa, those who are attending Mangalarti, Japa, and then Guru Puja and Bhagavatam. And later on, rest of the day, we are busy with our routine daily activities and meeting friends, ladies, etc., etc. So many other things. Once in a while, we may read and hear something. But when we come to this point, that what is that? Anyonyato sabhajayante mama paurushani. With other devotees, continue to discuss Krishna Katha 24/7. If no other devotees are there, continue to sing about the pastimes of Krishna like the Vrajavasis are doing. One is ready to go back to Vrindavan. Sorry, are you getting this? With
amazing
this
analogy, Prabhuji, amazing.
So it is not analogy, it is practical thing only, no analogy.
But Prabhuji, how to practice in this world to develop this consciousness?
वही बता रहे हैं ना, वही इसके लिए हम साधना भक्ति कर रहे हैं. अभी एटलीस्ट वी डू 1 hour, so धीरे धीरे it should increase. 1 hour should become 2 hours, 2 hours should become 3 hours, 3 become 4, 4 become 5, 5 become 6. Like that, when it becomes 24/7, then one is qualified to go back to Godhead.
But possible in this human life?
For a determined person. That's what here Bhagavatam saying. Lord Kapila is saying that Annonyato sabhajayante mama paurushani. When they gather together, they release my pastimes among themselves. Simple thing. When two family members meet with each other, when they talk about their children, you know that my son has got A grade in 10th class or S grade in 10th class. Of course, 10 out of 10 in 10th class. Does the parents feel happy while telling that to others?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Are getting JIEEE top rank within the first 10 and getting admission in IIT Mumbai or IIT Delhi, are scoring 2400 by 2400. Of course, sorry, I don't know how much it is now in GRE, and they are getting admission I-20s in US, I-20 universities. Does the parent feel happy or not? They want to share these news with many people. So while sharing some of achievements in this material world, we experience relish. The Lord says that when the devotees experience relish while discussing my pastimes and while hearing my pastimes, they are said to be in Bhava platform and Prema platform. And such kind of devotee never desire to become one with Brahman. Nayeka atmatam me spruhayanti kechit. And their only desire is engage in the service of my feet, following scriptural rules. Currently, the devotee is engaging the lotus feet of the deity. But that devotee eventually want to serve the feet of the Lord in person directly, having gone to spiritual world. That is the only desire of the devotee. This is the nature of a devotee in the Bhava platform. These three things indicate a devotee in the Bhava platform. They don't desire impersonal liberation because why they don't want impersonal liberation? There are three reasons. Because they are engaged in service to lotus feet of the Lord, they are engaged in tasting Lord's beauty, and they discuss Harikatha among themselves. It says that, of course, we'll continue. 2 slides are there about the purport. Having described the qualities of bhakti in the previous 2 verses, now Lord Kapila shows the examples. First, 4 examples are shown about spontaneous bhava bhakti that has been obtained by practicing Vedic sadhana bhakti. That is mentioned in the 4 verses, where it is said that it was said that this bhakti is superior to liberation. But since these devotees are full with all happiness, why do they not enjoy the happiness of Brahman? The previous verse said that Bhakti Siddher Gariyasi. The Bhava Bhakti is greater than Sahajya Mukti. So then the question is that why it is so? Devotees are interested in experiencing the bliss. The Brahman also giving unlimited bliss. Why they don't want to enjoy the Brahman bliss? Like that a question might come. The answer is given in this verse. It says that they are very attached to the service of my feet with their senses, by engaging their senses, and not engaged at all in karma or jnana in the presence of scriptures. So the devotee says that in Brahman, there is no opportunity to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Until now, following the Vedic literatures, I only understood that I need to engage all my senses in service of Supreme Lord. This is only possible in the spiritual world, not in Brahman. That's why I don't want Brahman. The second reason they give. This is spontaneous Bhava Bhakti following scripture, devoid of karma and jnana, engaging all the senses in his service only. Basically, the devotees are not interested in karma or jnana, which award one Sahajya Mukti. They are not interested in Sahajya Mukti, and hence they are not interested in performing karma, jnana or yoga. They only want to perform bhakti where service to Lord's lotus feet is there from the beginning to the end. And then they have the desire to taste the sweetness of my beauty because they have no other desire. Anyabhilash Shunyam. The only desire of the devotees is that till now they are seeing the form of the Lord in the deity form in the temples. We are experienced to see the deity form of the Lord, but the devotee has a desire in the core of his heart that I want to see you in person, your transcendental form. And this is not possible in Brahman. In Brahman, there will be no darshana Bhagavan. So that's why they don't want Brahman. And the third reason is being attached. They relish the nectar of the pastimes such as lifting Govardhan while offering praise. It is only in Vaikunta, in the association of Vaikuntavasis, there is hearing the Krishna Katha, Lord's various pastimes, and relishing after having heard those pastimes. In Brahman, there is no Krishna Katha and there is no relish. That's why devotees do not want Brahman. Thus, three reasons are given why the devotees do not want liberation, why the devotees do not want to enter into Brahman. So, what are the three reasons? They do not desire to enjoy the happiness of Brahman because there is no service to the Lord's lotus feet, because there is no realization of the Lord's beauty, fragrance, etc. in Brahman, and because there is no relishing of sweet pastimes in Brahman. Because of these three reasons, the devotees do not want to enter into Brahman, and hence they are not interested in performing karma, jnana, yoga. They only want to practice bhakti, where the service of the Supreme Lord is there from the beginning to the end. So this is about the nature, the thought process, the consciousness of a devotee who has come to Bhava platform or Prema platform. In Bhava and Prema platform, a devotee will think like this. And Lord Kapila continues. Sorry, now this is a reference in order to establish this consciousness. Nakamayena tatadapyaham kvachin nayatra yushmak charanambudasava mahattamanta hrudayanmukacchuto vidasvakarnayutameshamevara. This is a verse spoken by Prithu Maharaj when he had darshan of Lord Vishnu. When Lord is ready to give any benediction, he is asking this: my dear Lord, I do not desire anything, and especially I do not want liberation. Nakamaye nata tadapi ham kvachit. I do not want liberation at all, in which there is no nectar of your lotus feet. Naitra yushmak sharanamu jasava, in which there is no continuous Krishna Katha coming from the hearts of great devotees and falling from their mouths. Therefore, instead of giving me Brahman liberation, kindly give me 10 millions of years. Vidasva karna ayutam. That is my request. Eshamevara. I only want this blessing, that please give me thousands of years unto me. So Lord asks, why you want to have thousands of years? Because in this world, the devotees are spread at various places and they are continuously singing your glories. So when I am here, I am not there. I am missing that Krishna Katha. I want to hear all the Krishna Kathas that are happening all over the world. So if I have millions of years, I can send 2 years here, 2 years there, 2 years there, like that. I can hear Krishna Katha that is happening all over the world. So this is the eagerness of Prithu Maharaj in order to hear Krishna Katha more and more in the association of devotees. So this is the symptom of a Bhava Bhakta or Prema Bhakta. Want to hear Krishna Katha more and more. The devotee's nourishment and sustenance is only in hearing Krishna Katha and serving Krishna's lotus feet. It is like that. So a devotee when practices Vedic sadhana bhakti will come to this platform. Like that Lord Kapila is telling us. This is the result one would come to. And then Lord Kapila continues. Because the devotees do not desire even merging in Brahman, they attain the following from me. So when devotees are not interested in Brahman, so what do they get eventually having come to Bhava Prema platform? So now Lord will speak in the next 2 verses. Pashyanti te me ruchirani ambasanta prasanna vaktrarunalochanani rupani divyani varapradhani sakam vacham spruhaniyam vadanti. Here Lord Kapila says, O mother, the devotees who practicing Vedic sadhana bhakti very sincerely, having come to Bhava platform, Prema platform, then what do they get? The devotees see my activities. They will see my pastimes. They will see my transcendental form consisting of red eyes. Ruchirani Aruna Lochanani. They will see my red eyes. In my smiling face. Prasanna Vaktra. Red eyes in my smiling face. And my spiritual forms, Rupani Divyani, they will get to see my transcendental forms. which bestow unlimited blessings, Varapradani. Then they speak pleasing words with me. Spruhaniyam vacham vadanti. Having come to my spiritual abode, they will see my spiritual form, which has red eyes and smiling face, and they will speak to me in different words. Then, till now, the devotee is able to speak to the deity only. But having come to the platform of Bhava and Prema, eventually having gone to spiritual world, will be able to speak to the Lord directly. That is the result Lord will award to the devotees. Lord's reception of devotees is, Lord will allow them to see and enjoy his form, and Lord will allow them to speak with him. C indicates, see the representative of activities such as hearing. Of course, in the verse says they will see me. That means they will see with their eyes, they will hear with their ears, they will chant with their tongue, and they will taste with their tongue, etc. etc. Taste means tasting the tulasi from Lord's lotus feet, something like that. Similarly, seeing forms is the representative of hearing sounds, smelling fragrances, and touching the Lord's skin, etc. Tasting is like this. The devotees will lick the lotus feet of Supreme Lord, just like a cow licks the feet of a person, the cowherd man. Like that, devotees will get to lick the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord, like that it is indicated. The forms give benedictions in the form of spiritual service. So then Lord says that, my dear devotees, please accept this gift of my service. So Lord is taking them to spiritual world and giving them personal service. Now you can serve me in person. Till now you have served my deity. Now you serve me in person, like that. And then Lord says that they speak with me. Their words express some desire to serve him, not the happiness of Swarga or Brahman. When the Lord says that, so when the devotees appear, when the Lord appears in front of the devotees, or when the Lord takes the devotees to spiritual world, so desiring to hear those words, I say, please accept this boon. So Lord says that I will give you any boon. Please tell me what boon you want. Lord gives boons only to the devotees just to hear from the devotees, just to hear the words of the devotees. In that pretext, Lord says that I will give you boons. Ask for a boon. So like that. So, but the devotees say, when the Lord is ready to give any benediction, but on the other hand, devotees say that, na parameshtam, na me, na mahendra dishnam, na sarvabhaumam, na sarasadhipatyam, na yoga siddhira punarbhavam va, mayarpite, mayarpitatme chati, madvinayat. Here Lord Krishna himself is speaking in Uddhav Gita. He says that, na parameshtam, they do not ask for the position of Lord Brahma. Na Mahendra Dishnam, they do not ask for the position of Lord Indra. Na Sarvabhaumam, they do not ask the position over the entire Bhumandala, the king of the entire Bhumandala. Na Rasadhipatyam, they do not ask lordship over the 7 lower planetary systems, the Bilasvargas. Na Yoga Siddhir, they do not ask for the 8 mystic siddhis of Ashtanga Yoga. Apunarbhavamva, they do not even ask for Sayujya Mukti or liberation. Instead, they say that, my dear Lord, I am surrendered unto you. Please give me service to your lotus feet, whether in the material world and the spiritual world, and keep me in the association of your devotees. Nothing more than that I want. This is the desire expressed by all the devotees in Bhagavatam. Even when they had darshan of the Supreme Lord, like Dhruva Maharaj, he said, I just want association of your devotees. Prithu Maharaj, he said same thing. Pracheta said same thing. And eventually, Lord Prahlad Maharaj and many other devotees said same thing. Sri Swami said that because there is superior eternal happiness in bhakti through realization of the Supreme Lord, the devotees never want such kind of things. The devotees does not want dominion over Brahmaloka or Sargaloka or Bhuloka or Bilasvarga or Ashtasiddhis or Brahman Sayujya. They don't want all these things. They are only interested in serving the Supreme Lord, because that is where they are experiencing superior happiness. So this is the desire and the mentality of a desire when it comes to Bhava and Prema platform. So it is like that. Distaste for merging in Brahman arises from the amazing experience of sweetness from seeing me. The devotees are only longing for seeing the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord and want to experience of hearing Lord's transcendental sound vibration. Because of that, they do not want Brahman. Because in Brahman, there is no such opportunity. That's why devotees never desire Brahman. Instead, they only want Lord. That is what is indicated in the next verse also. Tair darshaniya vaverudhara vilasaha sekshitavama suktai hrutatmano hruta pranam shabhaktir anicchato me gatimanvim prayukte. So your Lord continues, to the devotees whose minds and senses have been stolen by the attractive limbs of the Lord. So when the Lord gives darshan and the devotees, after seeing the transcendental from Supreme Lord, they are lost. Just like we see in back of the t-shirt that I lost my heart in Vrindavan, something like that. So when they have the darshan of the Lord's transcendental form, they are lost. So then when they see the form of the Supreme Lord, which also contain the pleasing words, that means Lord speaks, Lord glances at the devotee, Lord smiles at the devotee, Lord reveals all the pastimes to the devotee, and having experienced all these things, they will all the desires are fulfilled, and eventually bhakti offers them liberation, though they do not desire it. Even though devotees does not want any kind of liberation, but for a moment, bhakti offers them impersonal Brahman also, in order to show the comparative happiness of Brahman versus Bhagavan. The experience a devotee can experience, the bliss the devotee can experience in the presence of Supreme Lord versus the bliss of Brahman. In order to indicate, in order to give that experience, bhakti even gives Brahmananda for a moment, even though devotees does not want. That is just to, to remove that lacuna. But devotees may say that, okay, we always hear about Brahmananda, Jnanis and Yogis are aspiring for it. What it is, how does it look like? So Lord gives an experience. About taste karo. Aapko samajh mein aayega. So that is what is indicated here in this bhakti, in this verse. Lord's reciprocation of such devotees is that he awards them liberation, though the devotees do not want it, just to give them a comparative experience of Brahman versus that of Bhagavan. That was the whole intent. The limbs of Lord Krishna, that of Lord Rama, and other forms are very attractive. They are all darshaniya. They are always, once we see, we want to see them continuously. It is like that. And possesses attractive words, glances, smiles, and pastimes, which fulfill the desires of the devotees, because their minds and senses are attracted by these things. They do not desire liberation. So I'll give you one example, and we might have had this experience. Normally we come to temple on every Sunday and have darshan, but not like lockdown situation, but go back few years. If Janmashtami is coming, if Radhashtami is coming, if Gaur Purnima is coming, Nityanand Chaturdashi is coming, the devotees would eagerly anticipate how it will be going to be the Shringar Darshan. The devotees will get up early in the morning, come to temple to have Mangalarti Darshan. They attend Mangalarti and they sit for Japa. And when it is around 8 o'clock, 5 minutes before, and the devotees are all crumbled together in front of the altar, just to have the first glance of the deities with the new outfit. Because that day, Lord is more merciful and Lord becomes more beautiful, because it is his appearance day or something like that. He is more merciful, he is more compassionate to award his compassion to all the living entities. And that day, devotees becomes more and more, 1,000 times more eager than the normal days, in order to have the first glance of Shringar Darshan. Does anyone of you have that experience?
All of us, I guess, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Everyone probably.
And I'm sorry to say this, but since we are in the temple having joined in Brahmachari ashram, now apparently we don't have that much of eagerness, because some way or other we are already engaged in the DT service in the background. But previously, before joining VTA, before coming to Mumbai, and while we were in Bangalore, so we used to come for the festivals, catching a train, like that, something like that, traveling for 48 hours, 50 hours all the way from Bangalore to here, just to be part of the festival, especially Gaur Purnima, where the special darshan, and throughout the day Krishna Katha by His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. Even at one time in Janmashtami also, like the festival would go for 3 days. It's like a whole different Angama only. In the initial years, it was like very, from 15 days in advance, there is a planning. So what should be done? How should we do? I mean, how should be, where should we staying, etc., etc., where to sit to hear the class. There is a competition to have darshan of Sringar Darshan, and there is a competition to get a place in front of the Vyasasan on those festivals, because Maharaj would speak for long hours, and those who sit in the close proximity, they would have the gauge of Maharaj. So while looking at around, Maharaj would have gauge them for that one glance. So there is a huge competition that I will sit in the front, I will sit in the front, like that. I mean, I personally experienced, I'm just sharing. So nowadays it's not so, but it used to be like that in those initial days. I mean, this is always be eager. That eagerness indicates that we are, that shows our sincerity in the path of bhakti, and Lord also reciprocates accordingly. When we go with that anticipation, the darshan also will be so beautiful. And we talk about that darshan and that lecture for the next 1 month till another festival comes. And sometimes we actually cherish those moments even after 10 years or so. You remember in 2012 Janmashtami how it happened? So wonderful, like that, something like that. So we can compare that kind of anticipation to what is being discussed here. See what kind of experience a devotee will have when they personally have darshan of the Supreme Lord. So that is being indicated here in this verse. Yes, Prabhu. So, but bhakti bestows liberation also. Bhakti says that, O devotees, please accept liberation, Brahman. Though it is said, but they do not take it, because their minds have been stolen by the sweet words, the sweet glances, the sweet smiles, and the sweet pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Having had the darshan of the Lord, which devotee wants to enter into Brahman? Because the Lord Swami is so bewitching that it will attract completely. Then they are not at all interested in Brahman. If that is so, then why does omniscient bhakti offer it to devotees? Why bhakti is offering Brahman to Brahmananda to devotees? That is just what we have mentioned. He who can give Chintamani, or the touchstone, made up of valuable diamonds and rubies, sometimes makes a show of giving gold. A rich man who had so many Chintamanis in his possession, he would give in charity one after the other. Sometimes he can also give gold. Otherwise, sometimes he also gives gold. Otherwise, the foolish people who desire only gold would cause disturbance by saying that the donor has no gold. Here, kindly understand that the donor is giving Chintamani, started with diamonds and rubies, and if he is not giving gold, the people are claiming him, blaming him. Hey, this fellow does not have gold only, is not giving gold. So, in order to stay away from that blemish, the Supreme Lord, who is continuously awarding Chintamani, sometimes also awards gold, so that people will become calm. Similarly, bhakti, in order to destroy foolishness of purported jnanis who desire only liberation, Sahajya Mukti, offer liberation to devotees, but does not really desire to give it to them. So in order to close the mouths of karmis, jnanis and yogis, sometimes the Lord awards liberation to the devotees just to close their mouths. But the Lord does not want liberation to be given to the devotees. He just gives them for a moment and then takes them to Vaikuntha. So that is being indicated in the next. Devotees often pray, let me stay in the material world birth after birth, but with devotion unto you. When Lord is eager to award benedictions, the devotee says that, my dear Lord, let me stay here only, no problem. I don't have any issue. But keep me in the association of devotees and engage me in your service. Make sure that I will be in your service. With that guarantee, I am ready to stay in the material world also. But on the other side, however, Bhakti makes the devotees take that position as an associate. But Bhakti does not allow the devotees to stay or remain in the material world. It takes the devotees to spiritual world. And by the way, in between, Bhakti forcefully makes them take liberation to experience the happiness of Brahman, though they do not want it. How and why? But then the Lord pulls them out of that realization. Just like Lord Krishna initially showed the Brahmananda to the inhabitants of Vraja. Then he pulled them out of that Brahma Hruda and then put them in the spiritual world. This is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 28 and 16th verse. Makes them his associates in the spiritual world and drowns them eternally in the bliss of service. So this is a small narration in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. So after Govardhan Leela that went on for 7 days. So on the Diwali, on the day of Diwali, all the devotees would celebrate Diwali. The next day they are supposed to perform Govardhan Puja, but this time Krishna told not to perform Govardhan Puja, instead worship, not to perform Indra Puja, instead worship Govardhan. They did Govardhan Puja. And the next day Indra became angry and he started pouring rains for 7 days. Like that, for 7 days there was downpour. And the 8th day Indra came and begged forgiveness. And later on the 9th day is Ekadashi. After this entire episode is over, the next day is Ekadashi. Nanda Maharaj and all the elderly Gopas, they performed Ekadashi very nicely. The next day is Dwadashi. So on the Dwadashi day, Nanda Maharaj wanted to break the fast as early as possible. So he went little early to Pavan Sarovar in Nandagaon. That's what he said. So while he was taking bath, the servants of Varuna, thinking that, so this person is coming much earlier than the time allotted for human beings. They arrested him. They took him to ocean, where Varuna is staying within the ocean. So he was kind of captured by the soldiers of Varuna. Then the whole day, Mother Yashoda, Krishna, Balram and all the Vrajavasis were searching for Nanda Maharaj. They could not find anywhere. After searching some time, Krishna took Balram and both of them went to the abode of Varuna. There Varuna understood that my servants have arrested Nanda Maharaj and Krishna and Balram came to rescue. Then immediately Varuna came and begged forgiveness from Lord Krishna and put him on the asan and released immediately Nanda Maharaj and decorated Krishna, garlanded him, performed worship, offering all the Argya, Padya, etc. Everything that we do in Aarti. And then he was offering glory, prayers. And Nanda Maharaj standing at a distance and observing everything. What is this? Varuna, why is doing all these things? He is my son, my darling son. Why Varuna is doing all these things? He could not understand why, what is happening. But eventually Krishna Balram took Nanda Maharaj back to Vraja, Nandagaon. And then all the Vrajavasis felt very happy that Nanda Maharaj came back. They went home, took their meal, and in the late evening, all the elderly men of Vraja, Vrindavan assembled. And they asked Nanda Maharaj, what happened? Where did you go whole day? Morning you disappeared and evening you came, and what is this? What's happening? Then Nanda Maharaj told everything. And he told what all Varuna did. Then he revealed that long back when Krishna was born, during his 3rd month or something like that, Gargacharya came to my home. That time I requested him to give names to my 2 sons, Krishna and Balram. While giving the names, Gargacharya told that your son is like Vishnu. He is non-different from Vishnu. And whatever problems would come to you, he will solve all the problems. Just take care of him very nicely. Just serve him very nicely. That's what Gargacharya indicated. It seems that my son is like Narayana. You know, everyone knows him, everyone is worshipping him. And even our small boys told that yesterday that Indra and other devatas are also worshipped him. We did not believe. So boys told, we just ignored. But seems that everyone worshipping him. It seems that he Gargacharya said that he might be Vishnu. So then Krishna came there. Then all Vrajavasis had a curiosity. So, my dear Krishna, so please tell us one thing. So we don't know whether you are Vishnu or not, but if you are Vishnu, kindly tell us this thing. So we always hear that so many great munis and sages come and they talk about Brahman, Sahijya, Mukti, Mukti, Moksha, Moksha. What is that? Can you please show us that moksha? How does it look like? Then Krishna took them to one place. Even today also there. That is the place where we hear that Akrura took bath. That is the place. Brahmanda Ghat. Krishna showed everything to all these Vrajavasis. So Krishna told them to enter inside or something like that. Then by entering into that water, Krishna took all of them to Brahman. So they saw in Brahman what kind of Brahmananda is there. They saw everything. Then Krishna took them to Vaikunta, where in Vaikunta everyone is serving Vishnu in opulent way. Then Krishna took them to Golok. So they saw Brahman, Vaikunta, and Golok. When they went to Golok, they thought that they are back in their home. And as soon as they thought that, they came back. So for a moment, just to give the experience of Brahman, Lord Krishna showed Brahman to the Vrajavasis. Then he also gave them the experience of Vaikunta, where everyone is serving Krishna, but no one is feeding him. They were feeling bad. But in Gokul, everyone is feeding him. No one is praising him. So there is a contrast between Vaikunta and Goloka. So something like that. So just like Lord Krishna showed Brahman to Vrajavasis, Bhakti shows Brahman to the devotees only for a moment and pulls them out and takes them to Vaikunta. Thus, Bhakti could offer liberation before those persons realize full happiness with the Lord in his abode. This can be understood from bathing in the meaning of the next verse more clearly. So this is how Bhakti works upon devotees. On the way to Vaikunta, Bhakti awards Brahmananda also to the devotees. So that devotees will have that experience also. So it is like that. Ato vibhutim mamamaya vinastam aishwaryamashtangam anupravrittam Sriyam Bhagavatim va spruhayanti badram parasyamete shnuvate tu loke. Here finally Lord says that the devotees certainly do not desire attainment of the happiness of the material universe piled up by Maya. If the devotees are not interested in Brahmananda, then what to speak of the happiness of the material world, the happiness one can experience in the material world that have Sarga and other places. The powers of Yoga Siddhis, Ashtasiddhis of Ashtanga Yoga, following Bhakti, the auspicious rewards of residing in Vaikunta. Even the devotees do not ask for residence in Vaikunta with all the opulences or the bliss of Brahman. But the devotees attain the abode of me, Vaikunta, of the Supreme Lord. But even though devotees do not want entry into Vaikunta, but Bhakti offers or Bhakti takes them to Vaikunta. So it is like that. Lord awards them his own abode. Because as we saw in Manmanabha Madbhakto, the devotees are offering everything that they have in the service of Supreme Lord. And finally, though devotees do not want, but Lord awards his own abode to the devotees. So it is like that. It is said that Bhakti gives the results of karma, jnana and yoga performed with the absence of those practices, since those practices cannot give results without some Bhakti. So there is a comparative study of karma, jnana, yoga versus Bhakti. The results of karma, the results of jnana, the results of yoga can be obtained only when they practice karma, jnana, yoga along with Bhakti. If they practice Bhakti alone, still all the results will come. In addition to that, the result of Bhakti, that is prema. So that is indicated here. Yat karma bir yat tapasa jnana vairagya yaschayat yogena dana dharmena shreyo bir itarairapi sarvam madbhakti yogena madbhakto labate injasa swargapavargam maddama katanchit yadivanchati. Everything that can be achieved by karma, jnana or yoga, knowledge, detachment, mystic yoga, charity, religious duties, and all other means of perfecting life is easily achieved by my devotee through loving service, devotional service unto me. If somehow or other my devotee desires promotion to heaven or liberation, or residence in my abode, he easily achieves such benedictions. Bhakti can award anything a devotee want, either in the material world or in the Sahaja Mukti or in the spiritual world. That is the potency of Bhakti. So thus, in reality, Swarga and other results are the results of Bhakti alone. This verse describes that the pure devotees living on the abode of the Lord experiences all happiness which arises from the bliss of worshipping the Lord. So here in the material world, people might do many karma, jnana, yoga in order to get so many other blessings. But a devotee having gone to spiritual world will have the blessings of all different variety of blessings. Everything is available for a devotee in Vaikuntha. All the happiness within the universe consolidated by Maya after destruction of ignorance and the happiness derived from powers of Ashtanga Yoga, that is 8 Siddhis, are simply attained by following Bhakti in the spiritual world. The devotees certainly do not desire the wealth in Vaikuntha such as Sarishti and the bliss of Brahman, since their minds and senses are absorbed in Lord's smile and glance only. Though devotees does not want all these things, but when devotees goes to spiritual world, they will have everything at their disposal, because they will have the same nature of the Supreme Lord. Whatever appliances Lord has, they will also have. Though they do not desire these things, they attain Vaikuntha, the abode of Supreme Lord, and all the opulence of the Supreme Lord. This is Lord's particular affection for his devotees. This is how the Supreme Lord reciprocates with the devotees. Though devotees do not want, Lord takes them to spiritual world and offers them all the blessings that a person might anticipate in the material world. The 80 mystic powers are there, the happiness of Sarga is there, the happiness of Brahman is there. In addition to that, they will have the opportunity to see the Lord in person and experience his transcendental beauty, pastimes, everything like that. So this is the result of practicing Vedi Sadhana Bhakti. So that is what Lord Kapila is saying. How a Bhakti should be engaged and what kind of results will be obtained by such a devotee. So we'll stop here for today. Hare Krishna. I hope all of you are able to follow what we are talking about in these verses.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Very well.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Very nice lecture. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. And thank you very much.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Thank you.